too.
Coming to you from the NBC Tower in downtown Chicago, this is WrestleZone Daily with big news about the WWE Hall of Fame, All Elite Wrestling, and so much more. If you're with us live, get your comments on screen. Watching on demand, click that thumbs up, baby. You in the WrestleZone, baby. What's up, everybody? It's Kevin Kellam. I am coming to you once again from the NBC Tower, getting back into the groove of things. No matter where you are, support the show, share the link, pass it on. A lot to get into. If you don't pass on the links, you stink. I'm not alone. I'm joined by my faithful friend, as always. He's with us consistently now on the Wednesdays, it looks like. That is Angel Garcia. Give him a follow on the Twitter machine at Gorilla Jokes. You can follow me at Kev Kellam. And of course, follow WrestleZone.com. All one word, WrestleZone.com. So, Angel, a lot to get into. The big news from yesterday was news about the WWE Hall of Fame. Now we know that Batista and the NWO are confirmed and announced by WWE to go into the Hall of Fame. So those are pretty big names, right? If you're in Tampa Bay, you're in Florida, Hulkster's going to... Yeah, can't deny... Big. And so we also have news coming out of yesterday that it looks like the biggest UK wrestler of all time, the British Bulldog, will finally get the nod to go into the WWE Hall of Fame. This one has been talked about for a long time. I even had a lot of fans say, oh, isn't he already in there? I think with some fans, especially when you talk about 80s superstars, and he broke out in the 80s, one half of the Bulldogs tag team with Dynamite Kid. When you talk about them, a lot of people just assume that all of them are in there. Me, I'm in my 30s. I'm like, no. I have maybe a little bit more of an emotional connection to these guys. What do you think about getting the nod here?
It's one of those things where it's like, finally, you definitely want to see that happen. I think every year his name comes up.
Yeah, it's worth noting this isn't confirmed by WWE.
Right.
It's reported by Dave Meltzer, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Bulldog allegedly getting, put in the Hall of Fame would be fantastic, right? It's something we've been wanting for a while, and I think this also opens the door for like Owen. I think that's somebody that belongs in there. Mark Henry very famously said in a very passionate interview that he thinks Owen should be in there, and I think letting Davey Boy Smith in is like the key to do that. So I think not only is it huge for Bulldog, but it's also huge for like getting the rest of them in there, basically. So.
Angel, we got JBL going into the Hall of Fame as well. This one coming up here. I'm going to reboot my camera, but sound off on this. I'll be right back with you. JBL in the Hall of Fame.
JBL, so I really grew up like in my teenage years and my early adolescence, like growing up watching when JBL was SmackDown champ and he was like that big heel. And I remember hating that dude. And now, now that I'm older and stuff, you grow to appreciate those guys. And you're like, man, he really carried a lot of that brand and like these baby faces coming up. And like he was the perfect foil for Eddie. Had a, in WWE at the time did some controversial angles there that aren't in the best taste now. But even with that said, like, JBL had a huge impact on like a large era of wrestling and that I think, take granted for. Also, best clothesline ever. Good Lord. Murdered people. I think literally destroyed them.
You might even say it's from hell.
Some say. Yeah, but it's I think it's long deserved too. I think he should have gone in 2012, like that long ago. I'm surprised it's taken this long.
Well, there's some guys who get the offer and they say no. Batista's been on the record as saying that he's been offered this before since he's been not
like active week to week with WWE. No, I didn't feel it was the right time to do it.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it is too, right? JBL was like, I don't need it. You know, a lot of them, most people's experience nowadays with JBL is, you know, with commentary, and you know, it's funny because I was still watching during that first run of JBL on commentary, and that was pretty good too. And
when he was on SmackDown, right, with Michael Cole?
He was doing commentary on SmackDown, and then he does a big return, and it's a good time. It was a big thing back in the day where, like, if a wrestler was injured, he'd do commentary for a while, and then some angle would happen. They're like, I can't do this anymore, and then they just get in the ring again. I remember Houston, WrestleMania 25th anniversary, even though it wasn't technically the 25th anniversary. WrestleMania 25, you know, Rey Mysterio hits the 619, 1, 2, 3, and he retires. And you're like, what? What? But that's a WrestleMania moment. That's something people remember. So, you know.
And he had to retire at WrestleMania. Got to have his last match.
Big thing, too.
He came back for another little run after that, right?
Yep.
Another
like just a couple one-offs here and there.
Yeah, I remember he did I think he did some stuff with no, that was before it with Shawn Michaels. Whatever.
Yeah, that was before.
JBL, I mean, had the heat. He had the heat. You can't deny the heat that he had. And you can't deny the reactions he got at a time when you talk about, you know, WWE's rolling out this documentary, The Ruthless Aggression, right?
Ruthless Aggression.
Of all, basically, it's the generation of superstars post Monday Night War.
Yeah, and that's what I grew up watching. So, I mean.
Yeah, so for you in your 20s, that makes more sense. I think. Yeah, I mean, I could see for people like me in their 30s, they're like, oh, we've been watching it forever. He was just always there. He got the title, but we always kind of scratched our head about it at the time. In retrospect, I mean, like he tangled and had memorable matches with a handful of really, really big names.
He was the top heel on SmackDown for like 3 years.
Yeah, and also had heat. He got reactions. You can't deny the reactions he got.
People hated that guy, and he was great at wrestling. And like, the cool part about him was, like, he always played chicken shit heel. But his finisher was believable, too. So it's, like, a weird... And it's very in tune with his character, right? Because he's, like, supposed to be, like, this rich bigwig from New York.
Yeah.
That, like, transferred from Texas. So like, really, like, he made it believable. Like, you know, I could just win, but I won't because I don't have to.
Charles J. Ciro texting JBL, the wrestling god.
The best thing I ever saw JBL involved in was it was a Paul Heyman promo at ECW One Night Stand. It's like the only reason you were WWE champ for so long is because Triple H doesn't want to work Tuesdays. And I was like, "Ugh," but it was
Brandon
because him and Triple H like were those heels at the time.
Yeah.
So like it makes those are the dudes.
Brandon Stockton texts in saying he thinks he doesn't think it's time for JBL. Honestly, that is the thing about the Hall of Fame is every year people say, "Oh, someone else deserves it first."
Yeah.
Why isn't this person in? It's not just who's getting in. It's this person doesn't deserve it, and this person does. And I'll get into the consistent thing we've been talking about for the past week with the Hall of Fame is some other reported names that are going in. Now, it's also worth noting that this is coming from Wrestling Inc., that JBL is in line to get inducted this year. So that would be a pretty strong class with Batista, the NWO, the British Bulldog, JBL, and two more names that we reported at WrestleZone last week. Jushin Thunder Liger, who just retired in very big fashion.
Yes, he did.
For wrestling. He did have some time with WCW and did wrestle once for WWE.
Yep.
The other name that I think is going to always draw the ire of men 18 to 34 who just want wrestling to be about men, and they get very angry when someone who is not manly, even if she's a woman, is not manly. They don't want feminine characters getting over in the world of wrestling, unless their name is Miss Elizabeth.
Right.
And
when a woman's subservient, totally.
Yeah. The Bella Twins. The Bella Twins are also reportedly in line.
You and I had the discussion recently. We're at Roar Wrestling, and we're talking about this, I think. The Bellas were a draw. Still.
Yeah. Yes. You go find a 12-year-old girl who watches wrestling. Ask her 10 favorite wrestlers.
Can I tell the story again of my coworker here real quick?
Go ahead.
So I worked in retail for a while there, and there was a coworker who everyone saw her kids would show up. And I saw them watching Bella Twins matches. And I was like, hey, wrestling. Let's talk about wrestling. They're like, yeah, and they would not shut up about the Bella Twins. Right? This is like pre-Nikki injury, pre all that. In the middle of like that big Total Divas, Total Bellas run. Years later, you know, and intermittently I'm like seeing them, hey, and we talk wrestling. And then when they retired and they weren't on TV anymore. Like, mind you, this girl ordered the Evolution pay-per-view. Not because it was a big deal, but because the Bellas were main eventing. And they're not on TV anymore. And I'm like, hey, have you been watching wrestling and all this? She's like, oh, no, the Bellas aren't wrestling, so I don't watch it anymore. And I go, whoa. That is star power, I think. That is proper star power. I mean, I'll be honest. When Eddie, passed, in my head I was like, what? Like, my star is gone. Like, why would I watch wrestling, right? Or like, Ray was there, of course, but like, it's one of those things like when a wrestler retires or when they leave a company and they're that level of a star, people are going to leave because that's their person. That's the person they watch on TV. I have those people on TV now where I'm like, are they wrestling? All right, I'll watch this week.
Cedric David Atterbury saying, are they picking the Bella Twins because they are good or because they brought in money to the company?
Yes.
Here's something I'll say. For both. They're picking them for both reasons. If you bring in money, you're doing your job and you're good at it, correct, whether or not you like it. I think the modern thing in wrestling, especially for hardcore fans who've been watching it so long and have the megaphone of social media, is if someone's bad and I don't like them and they're bad, but people care about them, then they don't deserve things. Baron Corbin is an example of that.
Baron Corbin, by the way, is an amazing wrestler.
Modern heat is no one wants to follow you on Twitter. Like, no one, and if they follow you, they want to follow you adjacent so they can trash on you.
Right.
Modern heat is who can I troll? Like, that is the modern thing, and the Bella Twins always got that. And there were periods in their careers where they worked heel angles. They did it when they turned and they set up the match with Ronda Rousey at Evolution. That was a big thing. A lot of female fans are talking about that.
Right.
So there's something to be said for that. Scott George,
the Bella Twins carried that division during the dark times and as it got bigger and bigger. Yeah. Like, it's one of the reasons when the brand split again that the Bellas were so featured. Like, if AJ Lee did not have that foil of the Bellas, it wouldn't have been as big. If Paige did not have that. Like, if a lot of the female superstars that we love today did not have the Bellas as a heel, we would not appreciate them. Like,
well, this always comes up. This one comes up. Eric Dunlap saying Cena and Daniel Bryan made the Bellas. Of course, Brie Bella married to Daniel Bryan, and Nikki Bella formerly had a relationship with John Cena that played out on the reality show that is very popular under the WWE banner on the E! Network, and even had John Cena getting down on one knee and proposing to Nikki Bella years ago. Now, they're not together. Both the Bellas are currently pregnant and with child, so congratulations to them in that regard. But this long-running thing of the only reason they're over is because here's not too much of an issue. They were huge stars before any of that was put on television.
Correct.
They were big, needle-moving names. The only time you really got exposed to those things was with the reality show audience. And
I will say that, in fact, the Bellas ended up making Cena and Daniel Bryan to casual fans.
Yes.
That's what happened. It was the reverse.
Definitely Daniel Bryan.
It was definitely Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, definitely Daniel Bryan. He definitely got the rub from that. So a lot of different takes here about what's going on and in the Hall of Fame discussion.
Yeah,
so
I mean, like, if this is the class, it's one of the bigger classes we've seen. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, look at that class. It also makes me want to watch the ceremony live. Last year, it was a pretty good class, but I felt like I don't need to watch this live. I'm going to watch so much WrestleMania week. It's Thursday. So other things. If you're with us and you're just joining us, we do have some breaking news that's been developing over the last 24 hours. It involves a huge name from the world of mixed martial arts. Is Tito Ortiz potentially going to jump into the WWE ring? And this is something worth talking about. We're reporting it now at WWE confirming that he did indeed visit the WWE Performance Center this past week. And here is me talking to Tito Ortiz prior to his successful fight against Alberto Del Rio a few weeks ago in December, some time ago. We got to talk to him. A lot of people were paying attention to this, and I want you to listen to this audio now.
Yeah, why not? I think it would be fun. I think it would be a great experience. I know it would be tough as hell. I know it would really test my balls and see how big they truly were. Because guys the size of Brock Lesnar, I mean, Braun Strowman, I mean, these guys are studs. They're huge. But my technique, my wrestling skills, my submission skills, my striking skills, add on a little bit of the professional wrestling side of it because I've done a little bit myself. I don't know. I'm not sure if these guys can hang with me as long as me hang with them. You never know, though. It's just one of those things is up in the air, and I let them make those decisions. But it is open in my mind, that's for sure.
Well, so pretty interesting comments there from Tito Ortiz, a guy who's been in the limelight for well over 15 years. Certainly, some people would say that his time as a top draw in MMA could be questioned. But me having that conversation with them there in December, he's a guy who seems like he has a clear head. Also, has no problem working an angle, brother. You know, and doing this.
Has done it before.
Yeah, he's been involved with Impact in that interview. You guys can go see it. It's available in the WrestleZone radio archives, or just simply Google Tito Ortiz WrestleZone. The interview will pop up there. It's pretty lengthy. Mind you, this was prior to the Del Rio fight, but he talks about his kind of love affair with WWE. Also, in this interview, he notes that he did visit the WWE back in 2003. He attended WrestleMania 19 in Seattle. He felt he didn't have the maturity or the right headspace to enter it at the time. And also, MMA and UFC was blowing up at that time, or was about to. So what do you think of the idea of Tito Ortiz potentially in WWE? It is very hypothetical. But other big name athletes from outside of WWE. We mentioned Tyson Fury did that big fight. He's going to have this big fight coming up this weekend. And he had a big run there in Saudi Arabia. People may not think that's a draw, but internationally it is. Of course, we know that Ronda Rousey made the jump from MMA to WWE. Brock Lesnar, this has been done before. But Tito is one of those guys that has a personality. I also think it would be interesting for the casual sports fan to see what he would do.
My thing, and I mean, I guess this is a hot take, but one, I could care less about Tito Ortiz. And like what it's about. Never liked him as a fighter personally. The other thing is when guys like him, and I mean he's probably an exception to this rule, but when somebody like from mainstream sports comes in, and I think the big example recently was like Tyson Fury. It's like I think they're just there to like kind of like, hey, I'm doing this wacky thing and. Not taking a piss on the business. I
didn't get that with Tyson Fury. I didn't get that he was taking a piss on it. I didn't get that at all.
I got like this.
I'll fight you on this because here's the thing: he had that match, and if you go back and watch it, it's not an awful match.
Oh no! I'm not saying it was an awful match. My thing is like, it's one of those things where like they'll come in, they'll do it once, this was cool, and then they'll bail, and it's like, stick around, but like it's more upsetting because you see the potential.
Yeah,
because you're like, dude, Tyson Fury would be great in WWE.
You're seeing a lack of commitment there or something like that.
Yeah, that's my issue, right? You know, it's one of those things where it's like
The Rock. you can say that about you can say that about a lot of part-time guys who that's been the thing the past 8 years. I don't know why. Fans need to process this idea that like for casual fans that matters a whole lot. And
for sure.
For us, week to week, it may not matter. It may be something that aggravates us because we don't get this guy next week. Well, then screw him. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be in my Dungeons and Dragons group next week. You know, once this thing keeps going, buddy. You know,
you're the linchpin on my bard group. No.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people mentioned this here. While we're on the subject of UFC people in WWE, Spencer Worden saying, "What's going on with Cain Velasquez? Haven't heard anything from him lately."
Like crazy. Well, so Cain is on the record for like loving Lucha Libre. So, and I think that's what it is because, like, I think Tito Ortiz, Tyson Fury, these folks, they see wrestling as like, oh, this is a thing I can do, versus somebody like Ronda and like, Cain that like genuinely love wrestling. I think it's one of those things where like you want to cheer the people who love the thing you love.
Yeah, and I think Cain has a genuine commitment to doing big things in WWE.
Correct.
But that's going to be
just injured.
He's injured. He had a knee injury going into WWE in October. The idea was to get the rub off him on that first SmackDown on the Fox network, and he got that. And then he had that very short, pretty underwhelming match at the Saudi Arabia event that month, or I believe that following
Which is
month.
a bummer because he had a great match on AAA. And from reports, he had a pretty decent match in the WWE Live Tour in Mexico.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's something to be said for that. So a lot of people with different take here. On the subject of MMA stars jumping over to WWE, a lot of people chiming in. Anna Williams, Big A Dub. If Ortiz goes to WWE, I see him on SmackDown due to Fox.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There. And
the rating, baby.
Yeah, a lot of people with different takes here. Cedric texting and saying, I can see Ortiz joining the Great Messiah. He would be under the guideship of Seth Rollins there.
No.
Yeah. So
I don't see that. But it's fun. It's fun booking.
Yeah. Different takes here. And all these people chiming in. If you're with us for the first time, by the way, go ahead and get your comments on screen. So we want to know
get in there, dudes.
Tonight is Wednesday night. It is the big wrestling night. I will be doing a quick live post show for WWE NXT. So I will say this. For the faithful viewers of WrestleZone Daily, there was a period where we were doing a Wednesday night Warzone show where we were covering both shows. Unless I can get someone to do the AEW side, I don't want to do the thing where I watch both shows at the same time. It's just too hard. I have ADD. It's too hard in the sense of I don't think I'm going to give a good take of what the show is because I can't really watch both at the same time.
I can vouch for this on Kev's side. Went to McDonald's once. He got a chicken sandwich and a cheeseburger. It took him 20 minutes to figure out which one to eat first.
Yes. So we will keep doing content with both AEW and NXT on it, but we're trying to figure out the happy medium and figure things out here. So if you continue to subscribe to the show, it's going to be pretty cool.
And it's the nature of wrestling, right? You got to find that happy medium.
Yeah. So don't worry, keep following us here. And here we go. We're AEW Rage in the Cage. They're going to be in the big Atlanta GA hot wrestling tonight. And we're going to get Cody versus Wardlow in a steel cage. Cody went into deep detail on this on a media call that we have up on the WrestleZone Radio podcast feed. Go subscribe to that. You can listen to the whole thing for free. And we're getting this big cage match tonight. It is classic wrestling. We haven't had a cage match on TV anywhere, I think, recently.
The last time we had a cage match on television was
sometime last year with WWE.
The year was 1910. No,
but hot Atlanta market. This is one of the bigger crowds for All Elite in the past few weeks. So this is a good thing. They need it. They need big live crowds.
They're getting that momentum, baby.
And they need the momentum going into this.
They're drawing them crowds, baby. Let me tell you something. They're drawing them crowds.
I'm sorry. What do you think of this hot angle? A lot of fans invested in Cody versus MJF, and Cody's got to get past Wardlow to get to this match coming up on Leap Day weekend in Chicago at the Wintrust Arena.
I find it interesting that the two big boy wrestlers in AEW that are homegrown haven't wrestled, in Jake Hager and Wardlow. So that'll be interesting just to watch Wardlow work. I haven't seen him yet. He gets a lot of good reviews from the folks here in Chicago that've seen him at Warrior Wrestling and stuff. So that'll be interesting. It's a hot angle. People want to see Cody vivisect MJF on live television. They want to see him destroy this man. It's classic Southern wrestling.
Wrestling. This is very wrestling.
It's wrestling, brother.
And you're doing straps. You're doing big Memphis angles. You have to do this to get the match with me. If I win this match, I embarrass you.
If this was the territories, instead of a couple weeks, I mean, it's still been a few months, but instead of these 3 months, it would have been a whole year program just to get to the big match, and it'll be interesting. I'm very excited for it. I mean, Kev, I'm a big fan of aesthetics and how things look, and I'm interested to see how this cage looks. Personally, they should bring back the blue bar cage. I'm just kidding. No, but it'll be interesting. I think it's the first of really big gimmick matches.
Yeah.
At AEW, because they've done hardcore matches and ladders, but But like a cage match, that'll be interesting.
We actually have a look at what the cage looks like up at WrestleZone.com. This potentially leaked on Reddit. I know that anyone from WWE or AEW is not fond of the way that stages look getting out online before they are meant to be on television.
Right.
I can tell you the cage looks pretty cool. It is not the blue bar cage, big fancy cage. You can see into it here.
This is bullshit.
They've been influenced by WWE too much.
Well, this is messed up. I'm gonna watch NXT instead. Hey,
speaking of,
what if I told you
Southern wrestling? Love this question here. Scott George texting. Gotta bring this in. We're talking about how this reeks of wrestling in it. Cody and MJF in this entire drawn-out angle. Scott texting and say, what are the chances that Arn Anderson, who's in Cody's corner as his new manager, breaks his leg the way he did Dusty's years ago in the cage?
It'll be one of those things where, like my dad wanted me to do this angle. I had to do it. It's like, it's been 25 years. One of y'all were due, you know. I think it's low. So I'm looking at this cage. It is the most WCW looking ass cage I've seen in my life.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
No. Hang on. And I love it. It's the greatest. I like it a lot. I'm like, this is the most unnecessary looking cage I've seen ever. There's like, it's not tight to the ring. There's a little give on the sides. It's like mostly truss. It's like you know, the metal trusses. It's mostly that.
That was the 10, 15 years ago. They built that truss on the top of the cage, so then you can do leaps off of it. You can fight on it.
You can actually track the competition of WCW and WWE by the structures they built. They got a new cage. Oh, well, we got a new cage. Oh, well,
they have a Hell in a Cell. We're gonna build a dome. Remember they had a dome for a little bit?
Yeah, it was ugly.
Yeah. It was really bad.
Like, you know what? You have Hell in the Cells. Well, you know what? We're gonna make the same thing and just call it a cage match.
People ask me show them a picture.
We have 3 cages on top of each other.
Give me a second. I'm gonna try and show you guys a pic of the cage here in just a second.
I found it on Twitter. I can change this camera around if you'd like.
No, it's all right. Hey, I'm not going to get for everybody here in a second. But speaking of this angle they're also doing tonight, Jeff Cobb. They teased him coming to AEW last week. He's been with Ring of Honor for some years. I know he's not exclusive to Ring of Honor anymore, but he's not exclusive to AEW either. So they do this tease in hour 1 that he's going to be joining AEW. All right, so that gets the internet talking. But at the end of the show, he lays out Jon Moxley and he's revealed to be in the inner circle. And then, boom, they're jumping right here to this week and saying that he's going to take on Jon Moxley. What do you think of this? They're really hot-shotting Jeff Cobb into AEW in a huge way.
Yeah, I mean, am I hyped for Jeff Cobb? Absolutely. He's the man. Big fan of his work and the whole nine, and he's big and believable and big scary Hawaiian man, of course. I kind of wish that they didn't do the Jeff Cobb tease way in the beginning of like last week, or just do like, oh, I have somebody coming that's gonna kick your ass, and it's like, who could it be? And then it's fucking Jeff Cobb. That'd be sick. Oh, that's the picture of the cage.
Yeah, look at that cage. Big purple lights around it.
Comments blowing up with like, all the comparisons.
If you're on the podcast side of it, we have this up at WrestleZone.com. So give it a Google, AEW cage, WrestleZone. It'll pop up right there.
Yeah.
So
it's a great looking cage. I love it.
Yeah. So what do you think of this year? We have 2 brand new debuts on AEW tonight. That is something I'm thinking about. A lot of people are raging about how cool this card is.
Now let's think about the other side of NXT, right? The return of Velveteen Dream in ring action, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. The post fallout from the pay-per-view recently, oh my God, Johnny Gargano turned on Tommaso. What's gonna happen, right? The only one left with gold is Adam Cole. It's a big week for both companies, and it'll be interesting to see, what ends up happening on both. But it's one of those things where it's 2 very different builds, where it's like you got this match we've all been waiting for on one side, and then you have on the other side you know, this big post in like this post pay-per-view, like what's gonna happen show. So AEW CW, that's fun. Thank you, James. I do also miss the big blue cage.
Yeah, a lot of people missing that big blue cage here. Other people looking forward, like you, to Velveteen Dream versus Roderick Strong as we kind of flip over to the AEW side of things here. And then we go over to NXT. I think NXT is going to put up something special tonight. I don't think they come off NXT Takeover Portland this past Sunday with no fire. They come into the show with a lot of fire. Kind of a lane has already been made to what we're going to get from them at TakeOver the night before WrestleMania. And also we're getting a first time ever an NXT title we defended at WrestleMania. So we have a lot of things coming off the pay-per-view to roll in storyline wise. You mentioned Dream and Strong has been announced as a match tonight, but we don't have many other matches that we're kind of seeing. Yeah. So really this show is rolling on complete hype coming out of the pay-per-view, but there's plenty of it. You're getting Gargano versus Ciampa again. This is one of the longest reigning feuds in all of wrestling. Pretty much one of the most well-reviewed. I do see a growing sentiment of people feeling like this has been done. All right, you don't need to go back to it. They had Gargano turn heel on Ciampa. Now, the previous time they did this, both guys were injured. Ciampa came back and helped Gargano to defeat Cole. So these guys have put each other in the hospital. They've been tag team champions together. It's gone back and forth. Now it's completely inversed, and that Ciampa is the babyface and Gargano is the heel.
It's good wrestling, brother.
Yeah, it's straight up heat, and you have two guys with a lot of tension between each other. I'm into it. I think it's
when they had that DIY match, I'm like, they're just not going to talk about their problems. Like we're just going to put all that literally years of NXT TV off to the side so they can have this tag match. Okay, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we see this happen. I'm like, oh, good. They brought it back because in my head, I'm like, whew, that's wild.
While we're on NXT, James Espanto Hernando Tagahol texting in, faithful fan of the show, says, Angel, do you see Gargano joining the Undisputed Era, or maybe someone else joining the Undisputed Era? Because they have the title, they have the championship, they've lost the tag titles now.
There's a lot of room there to see that. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, his whole thing is that he's the rebel heart. I doubt he'll do anything to where he joins a faction. But I will say this. There was that moment where Finn just kind of held his face and was like telling him stuff. He was doing his best, Harrison Ford impression with pointing. And he was kind of like something. And in my head, I'm like, oh, it might have been like Finn telling him like this nice guy shit doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, but it's an interesting scenario nonetheless.
It isn't an interesting scenario. I think what it is, it's like Gargano's probably been like, I've been this nice guy this whole time. Finn beat me clean, by the way. Finn just killed me, And now my friend is finally going to beat the guy that beat me, and I can't. There's a lot of mixed feelings. It's a lot of drama, and you should probably watch to find out what happens next.
Well, Ciampa didn't get the title off Adam Cole, leader of the Undisputed Era. He escaped Portland, once again, the NXT champion. He's had it for quite some time. That faction is kind of battered, but he's still number one in NXT. He still has the top title in that brand. But he did make some headlines recently. Kevin Durgan saying, who's his next opponent? Well, apparently,
I got some breaking news.
Interesting scenario has come up where he said, I would like to retire Triple H.
Right. That'll be interesting. NXT champion Triple H. No, I got a hot scoop just now. Adam Cole's next opponent, Kevin Kellam. He just signed with NXT, guys. He's getting in there.
I unzipped the shirt, and it's just like a big NXT look. Yeah.
But that is a good question, right? Like, yeah, he would like to retire Triple H. Hell of a rub, but also, what happens? You can't just have the belt not doing anything. And you're looking at a lot of competitors, and NXT's been doing a great job where it's like, hey, these guys are all in their own current angles. So, like, I would say Keith Lee. Well, he's champ. Well, Dominic, nope. He's also feuding with Keith Lee.
So you have some guys that are kind of tied up right now.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I would say once Velveteen Dream beats Roddy, maybe it's Velveteen Dream's time. Many people would argue it's been Velveteen Dream's time, but we'll see.
Coming out of NXT Takeover Portland, looks like we're going to get Gargano versus Ciampa once again, WrestleMania weekend. Adam Cole will have a fresh opponent, apparently, for the NXT Championship.
It's a mirror fight. Like, did you ever play Mortal Kombat and, like, the guy right before Shang Tsung was yourself?
Oh, he'll fight himself.
Yeah, he's gonna wrestle himself.
Yeah,
in different attire.
Many people have different takes on who should be Adam Cole's next opponent. And a lot of scenarios will play out tonight on NXT, which I think is kind of exciting. They just had a hot pay-per-view. We know we're going to have one good match with Dream and Strong. That was the first match I think they had when they went on the USA Network. That was first main event.
I think if you want to create the most buzz with Adam Cole and give him a challenger that's believable in the whole nine, it's Killer Kross. And actually, Kyle here just said so. It's Killer Kross. I think he should be TikToking his way to not the app, like that's his gimmick, TikTok time. he should be musical app his way all the way to the NXT title.
Killer Kross recently signed by WWE, confirming the news recently. Timothy Thatcher also joining on that. They were only signed together. They were not put in a recruitment class. Yeah. And a lot of people note that Killer Kross has experience on television already with Impact.
Oh, of course. He has this experience, I think, murdering people. So I think he should.
And he has a lot of excitement around him. A lot of people love to see him debut big in WWE. I don't think
he's that dude.
I think he shows up on TV before WrestleMania time.
Oh, or I mean, unless you want to save him for like quote unquote main roster, but he should be on TV by now.
It wouldn't surprise me.
And like him and Scarlett, kidding me?
Put them together. Put them together. Put them together. I absolutely agree with you. Yeah. And a lot of people saying a lot of different things here and different takes about what's going to happen with WWE going forward. I will say this. A lot of people say there isn't a hot match on this year's WrestleMania card so far, but the potential for a lot of different things is still there.
There is a hot match.
What?
It's Charlotte versus
Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, that's the hottest match.
I think that's a fresh match. I think Orton versus Edge is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think WWE is in a better position than people give it going into this year's WrestleMania.
I think people are being cynical, and cynical is not a good thing to have. And it's like, the thing about it is, people have their own headcanons of what they would like to see, and when it doesn't match up, they're upset.
Your fantasy booking not being fulfilled doesn't mean that wrestling isn't good. And that's a very, very hard thing for people to be into. Another thing is like if they don't tease something and it isn't like, I get where people felt like, I remember people complaining online a few weeks ago that the general negativity. Screw WWE. They advertised Goldberg. He was just on via satellite. All right. I could see some of that, but you're reaching. You're reaching. If you tuned on television, you got Goldberg, right?
Right.
So I can see you're reaching. And I can see where that's an issue. And Joseph Priestley saying AEW marks love the shit on WWE. There's plenty.
AEW marks absolutely love to shit on WWE.
Yeah, guess what, guys? AEW doesn't get better if you make fun of something on the internet.
Yep. Your negativity does not help the company you want to work with. It doesn't. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's not how it works at all.
Not how it works. And also,
you want AEW to succeed?
You can watch both.
Just watch both.
Just watch both.
So much wrestling. Watch it all. Oh, I don't like this one. Then don't watch it.
You don't have to watch. And
you don't have to do it. That's like the worst thing. Oh, wrestling's dumb right now because of all this. Like, first of all, it's the same mark that like craps on everything WWE's doing. That when Edge came back, crapped their pants.
Bingo.
That's the same one.
Bingo. And they're already back to crapping on it because he hasn't been on TV in a few weeks.
Where's Edge? He's probably fixing his neck again because he went really hard. And also, he's making it special for when he comes back.
All right. We've dwindled.
Thank you, Spencer. You said it best. Right?
We're yelling at people on the internet. It's the number one thing our show does.
Why can't you have fun?
Have fun.
Listen to me right now.
We're like
have fun.
We're like a dad and a mom who drove their kid to Disneyland and all they do is complain. Don't you know how long it took us to get here and how much money we're spending? You are going to go over, you're going to stop crying, you're going to hug Mickey Mouse, and you're going to send this picture to your grandma and she is going to love it. All right? I don't want to
eat your churro. Eat it. It was $12.
You love Frozen? Well, guess what? There's Elsa. Let it go.
Woo.
All right. On that note, we will return tomorrow. Yes, we will have a show. I will have some post NXT video up tonight as well. So keep an eye out for that stream. I want to remind you guys, if you're not subscribing to the podcast, do so, because we have a bunch of extra audio that pops up on there all the time. DDP, Cody Rhodes popped up there this week. So you got that for free. No Patreon, no paywall. It's all there for free.
Nada. It's all there, baby.
Go subscribe. WrestleZone Radio. It's on all your podcast apps. It's on TuneIn. It's on iHeartRadio as well. You can listen to it on demand if you're just a stream person, or you can get it on iTunes as well. And if you like it, rate, review, and subscribe. Also, you can now follow WrestleZone on YouTube. We're posting the shows on YouTube. So if you're watching us on YouTube, help us fight the algorithm. The greatest enemy of any internet content is the algorithm.
Algorithms.
Algorithm.
Look. When you're in the middle of watching your bun appetites and your smoshes and you're binging with who what's it's and you want to watch wrestling content that isn't wrestling, go watch some WrestleZone.
Yeah. Other people in there. Yeah, it's between everything you can watch on wrestling. There's
Yikes. So what are you watching?
You're watching. Yeah, you're watching so much wrestling. Thank you guys for enjoying the show. We appreciate it. We'll return tomorrow. I believe Robert DeFios will be with me, and we will follow up. Always fun to spend my Wednesdays with you, Angel. I would like to make you the Wednesday man, Angel. Would you?
You know what? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it.
What shows you got coming up on the Magic Road?
On the Magic, the Music, and Comedy Road. Let's see. Friday night, if you're in Chicago, I'm playing with my band Fay Babies at Second City, opening for a great show. Next Monday, following Monday, I won't be watching wrestling because I'm going to be telling jokes my mom wrote at the Crowd Theater. And, of course, the big gig coming up is that I am at Laugh Fest on Wednesday the 11th. And it's a good time. We're at a community church. It's a sober showcase. It's a good time. And we'll be doing a small tour.
In Ann Arbor, Michigan? It's in Ann Arbor?
Yes, sir.
Coming up on the 11th of March. Check them out at Laugh Fest. You'll see me on the Comedy Roads this weekend. I'll be in Joliet, Illinois at the Joliet Bakery. It's a bakery by day. It's the Drunken Donut by night.
I like how you and I are doing the complete opposite of shows.
Yeah. So it is. Yeah, you're doing a sober show, and I'm doing a show in a Polish bar that is a bakery by day. This Saturday, I'll be headlining the show Shots and Giggles. That'll be coming up this Saturday. Also, March 20th. And 21st, I will be at the Cut Up Steakhouse in Valparaiso, Indiana, headlining that show. And also, if you're a Howard Stern fan, I have some big events coming up in July that I'm going to announce in just a little bit. And also, I will be at WrestleMania. So we're working on doing something the afternoon, maybe a meetup of some kind with Bailey fans. So thank you so much. People say, Chad Garrison, Joliet, my hometown. Come out to the show, man. Come on to the show.
Get in there, Chad, and then tell us what wrestling you're watching, because apparently it's all awful. I only watched the NWA 87 through 92. That's it.
I don't need to watch any of this new indie stuff. I'm just going to watch the same show I've seen 5 times. I rented this Blockbuster when I was a kid. It's still good. Yeah. So just as we do at the end of every show, we ask you to do this one important thing. Please, just take a breath. Stop complaining that the specific guy was not fantasy. Why did they not bring back Barry Horowitz to headline WrestleMania? It's just the thing I want to see in an arena.
He should have been WWE champ in 94.
Yeah, like why has All Elite Wrestling not bought WWE? It's a thing I want to see, and if it doesn't happen, then I'm upset. All right, so all those things. Turn off your fantasy booking. Turn your brain off. Turn yourself into a 7-year-old, sit in front of the TV, and just do this one thing. Enjoy wrestling.